have not yet read it. So one of you has to read it. So, how big is the para? Oh, it's about 1¼ page. So, Jasmine, will you read?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Twofold, says Krishna, is the self-application of the soul by which it enters into the Brahmic condition. That of the Sankhyas by the knowledge, by the yoga of knowledge. That of the yogins by the yoga of works. The identification of Sankhya with Jnana Yoga and of Yoga with the way of works is interesting, for it shows that quite a different order of ideas prevailed at that time from those we now possess as a result of the great Vedantic development of Indian thought, subsequent evidently to the composition of the Gita, by which the other Vedic philosophies fell into desuetude as practical methods of liberation. To justify the language of the Gita, we must suppose that at that time it was the Sankhya method which was very commonly adopted by those who followed the path of knowledge. Subsequently, with the spread of Buddhism, the Sankhya method of knowledge must have been much overshadowed by the Buddhistic. Buddhism, like the Sankhya non-theistic and anti-monistic, laid stress on the impermanence of the results of the cosmic energy, which it presented not as prakriti but as karma, because the Buddhists admitted neither the Vedantic Brahman nor the inactive soul of the Sankhyas, but it made the recognition of this impermanence by the discriminating mind its means of liberation. When the reaction against Buddhism arrived, it took up not the old Sankhya notion, but the Vedantic form popularized by Shankara, who replaced the Buddhistic impermanence by the cognate Vedantic idea of illusion, Maya, and the Buddhistic idea of non-being, indefinable nirvana, a negative absolute, by the opposite and yet cognate Vedantic idea of the indefinable being, Brahman, an ineffably positive absolute, in all in which all feature and action and energy cease, because in that they never really existed and are mere illusions of the mind. It is a method of Sankhya based upon these concepts of his philosophy. It is the renunciation of life as an illusion of which we ordinarily think when we speak now of the yoga of knowledge. But in the time of the Gita, Maya was evidently not yet quite the master word of the Vedantic philosophy, nor had it, at least with any decisive clearness, the connotation which Shankara brought out of it with such a luminous force and distinctness. For in the Gita, there is little talk of Maya and much of Prakriti, and even the former word is used as little more than an equivalent of the latter, but only in its inferior status. It is the lower Prakriti of the three gunas, Trigunya Maya, Prakriti, not illusive Maya, is in the teaching of the Gita the effective cause of cosmic existence.
Yeah, very big para and very interesting para. So, very clearly he is distinguishing between the chapter is Sankhya, Yoga and Vedanta. And all of them are different philosophies, but the Gita is combining, managing to combine them. So that's what we'll be reading now. So, what is the subject of this? How to get liberation. We can get liberation in two ways. That's what Krishna is saying. Twofold is the self-application of the soul by which it enters into the Brahmic consciousness, the Brahmic condition, sorry. So what is the Brahmic condition? We can use different words, but basically it means that the soul escapes from the body-mind life prison. Okay? And the sadhaka does not identify himself anymore with the body-mind life like we do. We think that this is what I am. But now he realizes that he is a soul, he is a self, he is a psychic being or the self. It can be both. But normally, when you speak of Brahmic consciousness, it's nothing to do with the psychic. Okay, it is vertically up. You have gone, and you feel yourself stationed above the head. Okay, physically you will feel yourself outside the body. Okay, that's a Brahmic consciousness. And what are the characteristics of Brahmic consciousness? Immutability, absolute peace, silence, no action at all, static condition, and free. You are not limited by the body-mind life anymore. The body-mind life is going on agitating, and you are seeing all the waves and even the storms and violence and all you seeing, jealousy, anger, negative, all these things are there. But you are up there and watching. It's like a sea in storm, and you are not affected at all. When we are in our body-mind life, when I get angry, the body even will start trembling, and it will disturb you for 3-4 hours, or it may even disturb you for one full day. You will be in turmoil. But in the Brahmic consciousness, your soul has gone out and there is absolutely no turmoil at all. So the Brahmic consciousness is the same as Nirvana, is the same as the Atman, is also the same as the self. Normally we use the word self. And that condition, we must be very, very clear, absolute peace, sense of infinity. You realize that you are immortal. All these things come when you make consciousness. The body-mind life are only your clothes which you have taken for this particular life. You will again take birth and you will put on new. You will put on new clothes, a new body, new life, and a new mind, and again they will be thrown away and take another one. So this is what you realize. And how to get this Brahmi condition? There are two ways. One is the Sankhya method, intelligent will. You say to yourself that you are not the body-mind life. Na iti, na iti, na iti, and finally slowly it gets disengaged. You go on separating yourself from your body-mind life, and one day you feel that, now I am completely separated from my body-mind life. That's a Brahmic consciousness. But there's another way. So this way is don't do any work, okay, and separate yourself from your body-mind life. But the other way is do the work. Though not necessary to lose your identification with body-mind life, but you think that the work is being done not by me, but by the divine. And comes not divine, actually Prakriti, but that comes through offering your work to the divine. That's a karma yoga. So one is the Sankhya method and the other is the karma yoga, which Sri Aurobindo is using here, yoga, and not Sri Aurobindo, the Gita. When the Gita speaks of yoga, they mean karma yoga. Okay, so this is two ways of entering into the Brahmic consciousness. One, you get rid of your identification with body, mind, life, and your mind becomes silent, and you go up. And when you go up, you see all the turmoil in the body, mind, life, and you are just watching, and you are not affected at all. The other way is offer your work, whatever you are doing, eating, sleeping, going here, going for your work, sitting and driving in the car, constantly think that the divine is there with you. There is a karma yoga. Offering, remember and offer. Remember and offer. These are those words. This is the Gita's way. Remember and offer. Remember and offer. Okay. Then, in fact, the Gita's words are Man Mana Bhava. Become my minded. Constantly think of the divine, associate the divine with whatever you are doing. As I said, if you are going on a scooter, think that mother is riding with you as a pillion rider. Okay, so when you are going, you may be going on a cycle, you don't have a pillion rider, but imagine that she is there in front of you, guiding you to safety. So constantly, whatever you are doing, if you are eating, give your food first to her and then taste it as a prasad. Okay. So this is how you have to go on doing. If you are going to play a football game, concentrate on her and tell her that protect me. I should not break my leg while playing. Of this is a very limited way, but you always ask for help and protection. You are fully within your rights to ask for protection, and at the lower level, there is nothing wrong with it. But even a better way is, I leave everything to you. You do what you have to do with me. That's a total surrender. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam praja. That's the last. That's not easy to do. So in the beginning, you can do it. So these are the two methods. Clear now? One is make your mind silent and get away from body, mind, life and all work. Don't pay any attention to your work. Reduce it to the minimum. That's one method. And the other method is do the works. But remember that the works are only a means, they are a scaffolding to rise to the higher level. I read now the sentence, it will be clear. Twofold, says Krishna, is the self-application of the soul by which it enters into the Brahmic consciousness. Number one, Sankhya, by the yoga of knowledge, okay, Jnana Yoga, and the other, that of the yogins, by the yoga of works, Karma Yoga. In one, you are getting away from the physical world. In the other, you are in the physical world and using it as a springboard. This identification of Sankhya with Jnana Yoga and of yoga with the way of works is interesting. It's amazing, for it shows that quite a different order of ideas prevailed at that time, 5,000 years ago, from those we now possess as a result of the great Vedantic development of Indian thought. The great development of Vedantic development of Indian thought is referring very clearly to Shankara, which is the 8th century. Okay, Buddha was 600 BC, and our Mahabharata and Ramayana and all these, you can roughly place it at 3,000 to 5,000 years earlier. Okay, so then Buddhism came 600. It completely changed the Vedic concept and brought in the idea of nirvana. The world is absolutely non-existent. So, but Shankara changed all that in 8th century AD. That is about how many years? Quite a few. 800 years after Christ. Okay, and our era, maybe 1500 years before our era now. That was Shankara. And he has left his mark, indelible mark on Indian culture. Wherever you go in spirituality, there is no escaping from Shankara. Okay. He strides the Indian subcontinent like a giant. He has got his footprint in Kashmir. He has got his footprint right here in the lowest part of the Indian also, because he's from Kerala. Okay, so a giant of a spiritual personality. I mean, it's absolutely a fact that at the age of 6, okay, he completed his education at the age of 6. You may wonder whether it is possible, but even today, in today's world, you will see that 6-year-old children are sometimes unbelievably they are doing things. There are many videos. There is one fellow called Kautilya, a very small boy, okay? He knows so many things. So anyway, it's possible. So this identification with Sankhya and Yoga, okay? Sankhya philosophy and Jnana Yoga. Sankhya is a atheistic solution. Okay, it says there's no God there. There's only a state of Brahmic consciousness. It's an impersonal idea. Okay, yeah. Jnana Yoga also goes to the impersonal aspect of the divine. The Brahmic consciousness is impersonal. It's a state of consciousness. There's no God there. It's a peace, calm, absolutely a sense of infinity and release. And of yoga, which is karma yoga, with the way of works. Yoga at that time was the Raj Yoga, and that is being identified in the Gita by the way of works, that is karma yoga. For it shows that quite a different order of ideas prevailed at that time from those we now possess as a result of the great Vedantic development. The great Vedantic development, Srimati is going to describe in great detail how Shankara changed some of the ideas. We'll see that, very interesting. Subsequent evidently to the composition of the Gita, by which the other Vedic philosophies fell into desuetude. The Vedic philosophies were, there were many. Okay? In fact, there are 9 Indian philosophies, and they fell into disuse. Disuse means disuse. They were not used anymore. Okay? So, as practical methods of liberation, slowly, there was a degradation, and from the Vedic period of 5,000 years, slowly, India was losing that, because the nature of the physical world is that whatever is there, if there is a fire blazing, slowly the fire will die out, and finally there will be only glowing coals or glowing wood, and finally even that will disappear. This happens at all levels because the nature of the world is impermanence. Nothing is permanent. So there are great urges and great movements. It applies physically, it applies even spiritually in the physical world. Something comes up and slowly disappears. Civilizations also, after 200, 300 years, they disappear. Okay? So that has happened so much often. The only two civilizations which have not totally disappeared are the Indian and the Chinese civilizations. The others all have simply vanished. Okay? So he is saying, subsequently evident to the composition of Gita, which the other Vedic philosophies fell into desuetude as practical methods of liberation. To justify the language of the Gita, he must suppose that at that time it was Sankhya, it was the Sankhya method which was very commonly adopted by those who followed the path of knowledge. So, what is that method? There is a footnote. The systems of the Puranas and Tantras are full of the ideas of the Sankhya, though subordinated to the Vedantic idea and mingled with many others. There is a good deal of mixture. The Upanishads also were there. The Upanishads are the Vedanta, the end period of the Vedas. The Vedas were the original, and they were not experiences. They were only, they were not philosophy. They were only records of experiences. And that record also is not man-made as such, normally as we understand. They were heard. They were heard and noted down. Just like automatic writing also, when you hear and you write down, you are not conscious. Your hand is going on writing. So the Vedas are of that nature. That's why they say Vedas are not created by any poet or any human being. They have come down simply and noted down. That's the...
that is Shruti, no, Rangada?
Exactly. Shruti. That's right. So there are many Shrutis and there are also many Smritis. Smriti is remembrance. When you have an experience, you realize that I knew about it, but I had forgotten about it. That's what you feel when you get a spiritual experience. That's why they are called Smritis and Shrutis. Okay, so Buddhism. Okay, now I'll go back. Subsequently, with the spread of Buddhism, okay, 600 years, 600 BC, the Sankhya method of knowledge must have been much overshadowed by the Buddhistic. Okay? And what is saying? Buddhism, like the Sankhya, non-theistic and anti-monistic. So, Sankhya is non-theistic. That means it does not believe in God. It believes only in a condition of peace and calm and liberation. That's a non-theistic. Theos, God. Okay? So no personal God, only impersonal divine. You can't even say divine. You won't even admit that, okay? Non-theistic and anti-monistic. Monistic means the ultimate reality is only one, and that is the Advaita philosophy. The ultimate reality is one. But in the Sankhya, they say the reality, the self is innumerable. Everybody has got a self, and so there is a multiplicity of selves. That's a Sankhya philosophy. But the Vedanta philosophy is monistic. There is only one ultimate. Both are true. At the lower level, after all, your soul is quite different from my soul, isn't it? So it is a fact at the lower level. Sankhya is valid at the lower level. But as you keep going up higher and higher and higher, you see that everything is only one. It's exactly like a mango tree has got 500 fruits. Each one is slightly different in color, different in shape, different in size and weight. But All are mangoes. That's the essentiality. So depending on how you are looking at things, there is the Sankhya philosophy which is right at the lower level, and at the higher level Advaita philosophy, they are all one essentially. They seem to be different, but they are all one. There is a different anti-monistic. So Sankhya is anti-monistic. No, no, each mango is different. They are not the same. There are slight differences are there. But the other fellow will say, the Advaita fellow will say, wait. Don't start paying so much attention to small details. They are all mangoes. And essentially, there is one taste only for all mangoes. And that's the highest, the Satchidananda. This is the difference between Buddhism and Sankhya and the Advaitic philosophies. Clear? So, Buddhism, like the Sankhya, non-theistic and anti-monistic, laid stress on the impermanence of the results of cosmic energy. So cosmic energy, you see cosmic energy as unconscious and mechanical. Okay, this is the nature of the Prakriti in the Buddhism. Okay, and it is true also. Is it not true that the river is flowing? There does not seem to be any consciousness in it. The wind is blowing, but there does not seem to be any purpose and consciousness in it. There is. That's the Advaita philosophy. But the Buddhistic philosophy, no. It's mechanical energy only. Okay? So that's it. Sankhya philosophy as well as the Buddhistic philosophy both say that there is Purusha and Prakriti, and they are absolutely different. Buddhism goes so far as to say that Prakriti is non-existent. It's an illusion. There's nothing there. Okay. Whereas Sankhya is saying, no, Prakriti is mechanical energy. Okay. That's a difference. It's a different how you look at it. Okay. So that, and it made, sorry, because I'll go back to the sentence again. Buddhism, like Sankhya, non-theistic and anti-monistic, laid stress on the impermanence of the results of cosmic energy. The world is constantly moving, and the self, nirvana, is a non-moving, eternal, and it is infinite and eternal. Whereas the energy in the physical world is impermanent and moving all the time, which it presented not as Prakriti, but as karma. This is Buddhism. There is a karma. The work is going on, but Prakriti is the idea of the Sankhya. There is a small difference between Buddhism and Sankhya. So I'm just describing the Buddhistic method. Karma is there in Buddhism. Okay? It's a chain reaction. Whatever you do today, you will have an effect tomorrow. Because the Buddhists admitted neither the Vedantic Brahman, the Buddhists did not, nor the inactive soul of Sankhya's. So what is their philosophy? A nihil. Ultimately, everything is wiped out. There is nothing. Total peace and calm and a zero, nihil. That's it, the Buddhistic idea. Or rather, the interpretation of the experience of nirvana, that's a Buddhism. Okay, so this is what they said. So the Buddhists admitted neither the Vedantic Brahman nor the inactive soul of the Sankhya's. The inactive soul of Sankhya is Purusha, and physical world is Prakriti, mechanical energy. But Buddhism say, no, there is neither the soul nor Prakriti, nothing is there, everything gets wiped out. It depends on how you are seeing. No? We discussed this many times. If you are seeing a blank, you can see it as zero. There is nothing in it, I can't describe it. You are a Buddhist. But if you say that, wait, that which seems to be blank actually contains everything, but in a featureless manner. So that is the Advaita philosophy. Okay, so when the reaction against Buddhism arrived, and when did it arrive, we'll discuss that. It took up not the old Sankhya notion, but the Vedantic form popularized by Shankara, who replaced the Buddhistic impermanence by the cognate Vedantic idea of illusion, Maya. So, what Buddhists are saying is non-existence and only and Sankhya is saying mechanical energy in the physical world. Shankara is saying it is illusion. You are seeing it in the wrong way. Okay? The Buddhists are saying there is no reality in the physical world. Sankhya is saying there is a reality, but it is mechanical and unconscious. Now, Shankara comes and says, no, no, the physical world is real, but you are seeing it in the wrong way. The physical world is not unreal, it is real, but you are seeing it in the wrong way. That's a Maya. Okay. So these are the three different ideas at that time. So I'm explaining. And the word cognate has nothing to do with cognition. Huh? Cognition is not the way of knowledge. The cognate, the word means related, related ideas. Okay? So the cognate Vedantic idea of illusion, Maya, what you are seeing as zero is actually an illusion. This is what Shankara says. The Buddhistic idea of non-being, indefinable nirvana, a negative absolute. Buddhism is saying it's an absolute which is negative, there's nothing in it. By the opposite, yet cognate Vedantic idea of the indefinable being Brahman. Okay, so Buddhism is saying there is nothing. Even the nirvana experience is an experience of zero. There is nothing there. Shankara is saying it is not zero, but it is you are seeing the physical world as a zero, and what you are seeing as zero is actually because your language cannot express it. It is inexpressible, anirvachaniya. So there is a difference. Okay. The same thing can be expressed in two ways. Na? Buddhists are saying there is nothing. Shankara is saying, wait, there is something, but you can't describe it. You can't put it into words. Okay? That's the difference between the two. Experience is the same for both. The Buddhistic idea of non-being, indefinable nirvana, and negative absolute. Shankara is saying it's not negative absolute. It's a positive absolute. Okay. So by the opposite and yet cognate Vedantic idea of the indefinable being, Brahman, an ineffably positive absolute. There you are. Shankara's is positive absolute and the Advaitic philosophy is positive absolute. Buddhism is negative absolute. Nothing there, and Shankara is saying nothing seems to be containing everything without form and without your being able to see it. Your senses can't see it. Positive absolute in which all feature and action and energy cease. This is what we call featureless, indescribable. Everything is there in seed form. Okay. Energy cease because in that they never really existed and are mere illusions of the mind. It is the method of Shankara based upon these concepts of his philosophy. It is the renunciation of life as an illusion of which we ordinarily think when we speak now of the yoga of knowledge. When we speak Jnana Yoga, you are thinking of not as the Buddhistic idea of absolute negation, but mechanical energy, and it is illusion. You are not seeing the reality correctly. Okay? That's what Shraddha is saying. Jnana Yoga today does not say that the physical world is unreal. It says it seems to be an illusion because you can't understand, you can't describe it in any way. But in the time of the Gita, Maya was evidently not yet quite the master word of the Vedantic philosophy. The Vedantic philosophy is normally attributed to Shankara, and Maya became the word. But it was misunderstood. When Shankara used the word Maya, he meant that you are seeing through the wrong instruments. It's an illusion that you are seeing. You are seeing the illusion. The thing seen is not an illusion. It is real. It's a positive absolute. That's what he said. So, Maya, afterwards the word Maya came to mean total illusion, which is the misunderstanding of Shankara. But nowadays, slowly, I think everybody is slowly agreeing, all the philosophers, that the world is not unreal. It is quite real, but you are using the wrong instruments to see it. And when you use the wrong instruments, it seems to be an illusion. Okay, so, Maya was evidently not yet quite the master word of the Vedantic philosophy, nor had it, at least with any decisive clearness, the connotation which Shankara brought out of it with such luminous force and distinction. Note that how much he is praising Shankara. Okay? That which you see as total nihil is not a nihil. You are seeing it in the wrong way. The world is real. Sarvam khalu idam Brahman is the statement in the Upanishads, and Shankara agrees fully with that. Okay? Don't call it a zero. Don't call it something negative. It is something positive without features which you can't describe. Force and distinction. For in the Gita, there is little talk of Maya, but much of Prakriti. Prakriti is the Sankhya philosophy which Gita accepts fully at the lower level. So what's the difference between Maya and Prakriti? Prakriti is movement, impermanence, and only form and movement, forms. But Maya is that which is impermanent and seems to be unreal. That's the difference. So Gita is using the concept, it doesn't use the word Maya much. Okay, there is one or two which is mentioned, but it is not used in the sense of illusion. It is used in the sense of Prakriti, mechanical energy. And even the former word is used as little more than an equivalent of the latter, but only in its inferior status. In other words, even if Gita speaks of Maya, it is using in the sense of Prakriti, movement and impermanence, but not as unreality. Okay, that's what he's saying. And that also is true only at the inferior status. In the lower levels, Sankhya is right. Okay. But at the higher levels, it is not right because everything becomes one and absolute reality. It is the lower Prakriti of the three gunas. The three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. And Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are the qualities of matter, life and mind, which we call level 1. So this concept of level 1, level 2, level 3 is very, very useful. Okay? Because then you understand how things go on changing. Level 1, you are seeing the physical world and seeing it as real. Level 2, when you go, you are likely to see the physical world as unreal. Go to level 3 and you will see that your way of looking was wrong. There is nothing wrong with the physical world. So, it is the lower Prakriti of the three gunas because there is a higher Prakriti also, remember. Okay, Para Prakriti and Apara Prakriti in the Gita. The Gita makes a distinction. It is the lower Prakriti of the three gunas. Traigunyamayi Maya. Traigunyamayi. The gunas are Sattva, Rajas, Tamas. Tamas corresponds to the body, corresponds. The body's characteristic is Tamas. The characteristic of the vital, that is the life, prana, is movement, okay, and energy. And the third one is the mind, mana. Okay. Manomaya Purusha, Manomaya. These are the three, and that is the Sattva. Prakriti, not elusive Maya, is in the teaching of the Gita the effective cause of cosmic existence. It is Prakriti that creates the world. If you want to see it in Sri Aurobindo way or in the Advaita way, at the highest level, Sat, Chit, Shakti, Ananda. Chit and Shakti are together. But when you come down, Shakti and Chit separate. And Shakti becomes mechanical energy, and Chit is the one dictating terms to the Shakti. Do this, do that, create the world. But with my permission and my force behind you. Okay? When it comes down here in the physical world, Prakriti seems to become mechanical energy at the lower level, and different philosophies say different things. Okay? But this is in the Gita, there is no question of unreality of the physical world. It's only Prakriti, movement, which seems to be impermanence. It becomes impermanence and mechanical unconscious energy. This is what Shendra is explaining. So, 8:36. So, we have finished one, but very clearly Shendra is explaining to you Sankhya, Karma Yoga, Raj Yoga, and Vedanta. Each one. Sankhya was the I forget the name of the author who invented this, but there are two Sankhyas. Huh? There is a theistic Sankhya and there is a non-theistic Sankhya. So then there is the yoga, karma yoga. Okay? That is normally identified with Raj Yoga today. Patanjali is Raj Yoga. And the Vedantic idea is Shankara's idea, 800 AD. Okay, we stop here today.
Um, can I just ask you one misunderstanding?
Tell
What
me.
did you say about the Upanishad? It is the end of the Vedas, and
That's
they are written down.
yes.
And
That,
it's not an experience. What is it?
it is philosophy. It is the expression. Vedan, the Upanishads are the philosophical expressions of experiences.
Oh,
They
it
are,
is the expression of experiences.
yes, that's right. Whereas the Vedas are only experience. They are also put in words, but they don't speak of philosophy. They don't say this is that, impermanence, permanence, what is the nature, all these things. The Vedas don't speak about all that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Merci beaucoup.
Okay. Au revoir, everybody.